Thanks for tuning in. Here with Tony Lopez, like I mentioned before. And so, Tony, if you want to just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Tony Lopez. I'm a member of the community here in Brownsville. I was just diagnosed a couple of years with a little sickness, which I will elaborate as we go on.
Yeah, well, go ahead and just talk about you. I know we've talked a little bit before, and you were born and raised here in San Benito area?
Yes, I'm born and raised in San Benito. Played football, did all my curricular activities over there, and then I moved here to Brownsville since 22 years ago, and it's been not looking back. I haven't looked back ever since because I love Brownsville. It's a beautiful community.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, so go ahead and just tell a little bit about. We've talked about it a little bit before, and I never want to dive in too deep because I was going to have this conversation with you, on the show. But you had mentioned before you were sick that you were very strong. You said you bench pressed over 300 pounds?
315. I would do 315 4 times, and I would squat 315 as well. Always kept it at an even rate, so I know how strong my legs were and how much I could bench press with my arms as well. So I worked real hard and always ran 2 miles, and I could run a mile in 6 minutes just for burning after lifting weights, just for cardio.
Nice.
And I was doing just well until a few years ago. I went. I'm 54 years old. I went for my. I think was 52. And the doctor said, "Hey, have you had a colonoscopy?" And I said, "No." I think it's time for you to get one.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so I go, yeah, all right. I go for the first one, and oh man, he goes, everything good. All right, awesome. So normally they tell you by the way they see you how everything looked in the cameras and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
They often suggest that they'll see you in a few years to 5 years. And he said, no, you know what? I see something that's not quite the way it's supposed to be. So he goes, how about if we do another one coming up next year in July? And I go, okay, no problem. So that year passed around, and I went and had a colonoscopy. And when I woke up from the anesthesia, first thing he told me, I need to talk to you. I need to have a real serious talk with you. Wow. That really scared me, man.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, my goodness.
So just real quick to backtrack. So you went basically for like a checkup, right?
Yes.
Like your annual
Yes,
checkup, and
exactly.
the doctor said, hey, man, you haven't done this before,
Yes.
or and it's time, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and so,
So
a year later.
Yes, he said, I think we need to check you up. Something's
Wow.
not quite right. I feel like something's not quite right. So, okay, well, so keep living the way you are, have the same diet and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
keep on working out and what. Okay, so I continued my normal life, and then it came that week, and on July, we had the colonoscopy, and when I woke up, he always, the first time he just gave me 2 thumbs up, hey, you're good. But this time, man,
Wow.
he goes, I need to have a serious talk with you in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, so that's how it started. 2 weeks later.
So again, real quick,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but
no.
I was just wondering, were you feeling anything at the time?
Well, you know what, man? I had some obstructive. When I would eat something, I can only eat so much, and I had this major hunger, and I couldn't stuff my face. But I was always thirsty, and sorry to say, but I like to drink beer, and I would drink more beer to fill my stomach instead of eating. And I knew something was wrong because I couldn't.
Oh, because it was easier for the liquid,
the
right? It was like a liquid
yeah.
diet, basically.
And
Wow.
before that, I was living in, and then when getting to that 2 weeks that he told me to go follow up, I went with him. He said, "Hey, man, you have a mass in your stomach, and we don't know. We're not sure what it is, but it's not a polyp."
Wow.
So we need to investigate further, and we need to further investigate now.
Wow.
So he's called this. Okay, this is the thing. He called the cancer treatment in Houston, and
like MD Anderson.
yeah, and then they made an appointment for me.
Awesome.
And I went to go talk to them, and they took some tests, and they told me there was a second opinion, right? So he goes, oh, okay, go, you're good, and we'll be talking to you. And so I went home. We came home. I was in Houston, and they called me up in 2 weeks, and they said, "Hey, you have a major mass in your colon and in your intestines.
Wow.
And it's obstructive, No wonder you can't eat much, and it's not affecting your, you don't have your hemorrhoids or anything of that nature, but it's obstructive. You cannot eat. You're not eating well. You're lacking nutrients. You're lacking all these kinds of vitamins.
Wow.
And you need to drink water, and you need to stop drinking beer. Because all that carbonation wasn't helping. But it was just getting gassy and gassy. So, well, I said, okay, we need to take care of this further. Okay, so another week, he sent me over there. And he goes, if everything's all right, we'll go ahead and take care of this in December. And I go, okay, no problem. Mind you, this was August, this was July, August, and then early September, he goes, hey, you know what? We got to take care of this now. It doesn't look good. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's malignant. We need to send you to Todd Wood in Houston, and MD Anderson. So I go, okay. And I go, okay, well, I'll get ready for December. He said, no, we got to do this in November.
Wow.
So, okay, so I'm getting all these things, getting the hotels. It's a big nervous thing, man. I'm telling my parents, my dad, my brothers, and they go, you know, hey, you need to go take care of it. So we're making arrangements and whatnot, and all of a sudden he says, hey, it's getting bigger, man. I think we need to move closer. And I go, oh my God, but I haven't even gotten the rooms yet. And so you go ahead, take a few days off and start getting ready. So sure enough, man, this is a long, horrible story. I got ready and got my wife and we got ready, you know, get ready. She took me over there. We got situated in the rooms that they have next to the hospital. And I couldn't eat anything, man. I had to have that liquid, that electrolyte
solution or whatever.
Yeah, that cleaned your gut.
Yeah, you have to drink like a gallon of it.
Yeah. Before that, my last meal was 2 days prior because I had to be there for 3 days so I can get ready, surgery prep. And I had to go to all these meetings and what I couldn't be able to eat and this and that. The story was that they were going to drill 4 holes, 2 on top of my navel and 2 under it.
Wow. And do the surgery.
Then do the surgery. Yeah. It'll be a quick, and I would get, you know, in and out, and I would come home. Man, things got complicated.
Wow.
Well, they prep me. They, you know, they shave you. They take you. You know, you gotta sign waivers and whatnot. What they found was that mass had gotten so big, man, that it had obstructed my whole stomach, and they couldn't drill anymore. There was so much fatty coming out of my gut that they had to tear through my spleen.
Wow.
To open me up because or else the surgery wasn't going to be successful. So I lost 4 bags of blood during the surgery.
Wow.
And we didn't sign for a blood transfusion. And they had to do it on their own. So when they finished with the surgery, after we'll get into it. But during the surgery, it took 5 hours to 6 hours.
Wow.
When I got out of surgery, man, I saw this big lash here in my stomach, and they can only give me 2% of what do they call it? The medicine, not codeine. What is it?
Like a numbing agent.
Yeah.
Or like
it's not codeine. What is it? For the pain.
Yeah. Like Vicodin or Percocet or some kind of opioid.
Yeah, and I told her that's not enough. I was in pain, and the doctor said you got to concentrate with the pain because it was boom, boom.
You could feel.
So he told me, hey, concentrate, man. I was in major pain. I never had. This is my first surgery. Never had gone through surgery like this, so hardcore. So I'm trying to get into, you know, in this moment here. I'm trying to breathe in, breathe out, and he didn't want to give me no morphine. Morphine. And I said, no, I can't give you no more morphine. You gotta work with me. And my wife was she was there after I was in the recovery, and I was sweating. And she took videos and she was just looking at me, and but you never know, man. It could have been I signed whoever, like if I pass, I pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course.
So they're doing all these things to me, man, and I'm with the concentration. I was breathing in, breathing out. Before you know it, bro, I woke up, and it was already the next day, and the pain was gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He told me that it was my breathing. Every time I would breathe, I would push the pressure out of the surgery.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Oh my goodness, bro! It was a big old cut.
So it went from two little, what was supposed to
Yes,
be
to
two.
the whole thing. I don't know if I showed it to you before. It's a big old.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like go man from two man. Now if I work out and want to go to the beach, I won't be go. If I get all nice and pumped, I won't be able to go to the beach without a shirt because they're gonna see this big old line here in my gut.
No way, man. Cancer survivors.
Yeah,
story,
man.
It shows how tough you are.
Yeah. So what they did was they took 1 inch of my colon. They cut it out, and 1 inch of my intestine.
Wow.
That's how big the mass was.
So they just cut everything
Yes,
around the mass.
and they
Wow.
sent it to go get it tested,
Mhm.
and Lord behold, they told me by checking on that piece, they checked and it was benign, but they told me that they didn't know what it left behind.
Mm. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I would have to take
Yeah,
1 year.
You got to do follow-ups for sure.
Yeah, and then wait 1 year.
And so we'll stop the story right here, real quick, and we're gonna take a quick music break and come back and continue listening to Tony tell his story of surviving cancer. Stay tuned. All right, and we're back with Tony. So go ahead and mention what you were talking about during the break. In terms of your weight.
Yes, what I failed to mention is that when the first time I had the colonoscopy, and he told me that he wanted me to take another one the following year. He said that something was wrong, but what it was is that I was weighing 220 at that first one, and then I plummeted to 263. So I gained 43 pounds, and he knew something was definitely wrong because I was my intestines were being obstructed, and I couldn't digest food as fast. That I found myself throwing up a few times, and I thought I was being sick or something with the food, but it was. Obviously, it was that festering in me,
Wow. And so you go through the surgery at MD Anderson, which is awesome to hear because I've had other guests from the community come on and tell their story of surviving, breast cancer, and that's the first place they get sent to, or not the first place, of course, they get diagnosed here locally, but then the doctors send them over to Houston. And they do great work over there. Like listening to those ladies tell their story last semester was really kind of blew me away because they literally biopsy stuff and then they hand it out right there right away to go send it to the lab, because obviously if you take a piece of tissue or a biopsy, it starts to degrade with time in the environment, right? You take it out of your body, it's gonna start to break down. And so they realize that, and so what they do is they biopsy real quick and send it directly to the lab.
Correct.
So that way it's the freshest sample that they can test.
And Mr. Galiche, let me add this, man. You know that the doctor that did the surgery, he was my, I did this once, I'm 54, 52. He was 52 years old, the doctor that did the surgery.
Wow.
And he was in great shape, man. But yeah, this is what he told me, man. He never drank beer or alcohol. He drinks maybe a glass of wine twice a year, or but he never
living that Tom Brady lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. So he would tell me that a lot that I had to go through, endure, was because I drank too much since I was a young kid. He asked me, "Hey, when did you start drinking?" I told him, "Oh man, those are years of abuse, man.
Yeah.
You're abusing your body and your intestines and whatnot. It doesn't matter how much you run, how much water you drink. It's just a toll that it's taking, you know." Mind you, that I get a physical every 3 months, and my kidneys and my liver are immaculate.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And I'm glad to hear that you do that, because I've had, like I mentioned to you before, I met with a friend last week that I hadn't seen in 25 years. We grew up together. He moved in 7th grade to Dallas, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And so just talking to him about what I do and and I've had this conversation with other people. It's like, man, it's important to go get those annual checkups. And he tells me, he's like, man, I'm afraid. I don't want to get bad news. And I was like, well, yeah, man, of course nobody wants to get bad news, but it's so important to go because you could have something festering in you. Yes. And by the time it actually impacts your daily life, it might be too late, right? Like if it's draining your energy or making you throw up or feeling sick, like you can only deal with that for so long. At some point you're gonna have to bite the bullet and go to the doctor, and at that point it might be too late with an advanced stage cancer or something like that. So I know, it can be a scary thing, but it is an
But you need to take that step. You need to, whether you like it or not. And well, thanks to my company that I work for, They have a great insurance.
That's awesome.
I was so lucky. They flew me. I didn't mention this, but at the day of the surgery, um,
Yeah, no, you're good.
so the day of the surgery, 3 days before the surgery, sorry, they flew me my insurance flew me from Harlingen, Texas to Houston, and that helped me get ready and prepped. But the bad thing is, this is what instead of flying me over there, they should have flew me back. Because
Right,
when I was on the
yeah.
road, my wife brought me back. Man, we were driving back, and I would feel all the whoa, and I would tell her, oh.
Well, also though, whenever you fly, you know, that initial G-force of the takeoff might have been.
Yeah, it's either or, you know what I mean? But, I never thought about it that way until.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the airplane it might be 2 minutes of torture, takeoff and landing.
Yeah,
versus like,
oh
5 hours.
my God, man, that was painful. But yes, after that, after those procedures, it took me 1 year after the surgery, and I couldn't eat meat.
Wow.
From 263 pounds after the surgery, after a couple of months, I went down to 205.
Wow.
And I couldn't eat. I mean, salads and porridge and oatmeal, same thing. Water, Gatorade, chicken. Mind you that
it's like very bland diet.
I could only eat half a small burger, like the chicken sandwich, and I wasn't hungry. I kept my weight for about 6 months. From 205, I'm at 217 right now.
Nice.
Yeah, and I go to 220, 222, and then by the end of the week I go back to 217.
Yeah,
So
you
I think it's maybe they did it, whatever they did, it doesn't let me go any higher than that. Okay, and they also told me that I could continue my diet, my lifestyle, but I needed to be very careful as far as drinking is concerned. You know, you don't want to get up there again and start doing this. So last week I was at hospital for 3 days so they can give me a whole 1 year follow-up, a thorough follow-up. Colonoscopy.
So that was like your third colonoscopy in like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
And everything was clear. Everything they checked everything that I had nothing was detained. Everything was cut thoroughly.
Nice.
Everything he just told me, hey, we'll see you in 5 years. God willing.
Wow.
So that's taking good care of yourself, either going to the doctors and getting it done, because you never know what's coming up along the road.
So, like I've mentioned before to you, Tony, the reason I know about the whole process of going through the procedure of the colonoscopy is because my daughter, 13, she just got diagnosed with Crohn's, and so she had to go through that whole, like you called the cruel and unusual punishment of drinking that gallon of the electrolyte solution.
You just reminded me.
Like PTSD. Yeah, I know. And my poor baby, they didn't tell us that. So generally, the adults are supposed to drink that full jug.
Yes.
But the kids, they didn't tell us that they should. Obviously that was meant for an adult. So she was supposed to drink around half of it. So we were like, "No, Mama, they told you need to drink it all. You need to drink it all." And she was throwing up. She's just filling
that's
up.
horrific.
Yeah,
That's a horrific taste. Mind you, Rick, that mine didn't have a taste either.
Oh yeah,
It was
there was
just
no
like
taste. Yeah,
it
we
was
were trying
horrible.
to a little bit of Gatorade or something in the cup to try to make it a little bit better.
And I was scared because he told me, don't drink nothing green, don't drink nothing with color, because it's not gonna work. You're gonna have to wait again. And I wanted to do it like I drank it like that by itself, clear, because I didn't want no trouble. Him telling me, hey, you know what, we're gonna suspend this because you did something.
And that's the scary part, and that's why we're like, no, Mama, I know it's torture, like you said, but you need to do it, because if you don't do it right, you're gonna have to do it all over again. So it's like just bite the bullet and chug it, and I did take a little sip of it myself. It wasn't the best tasting thing.
But wait until you drink a whole gallon. Things will change. I guarantee you.
That's up quick, right? But so everything seemed to have happened pretty fast then, huh? In terms of whenever the doctor, after that second colonoscopy, he, within 2 weeks got you for a follow-up and told you like, hey man, we need to go.
I don't want to, he said this, I don't want this to be on my hands, so I need to find out because I never had this before. I never found I had a patient that had this before. Big old mass, and well, he showed it to me in a pictures, you know, and I go, oh man, that's me right there. He goes, yes, and I need you to send it to, go get it checked, and then send it to those doctors in Houston, and they called me, their office called me and said, hey, we need to get you out of here, and went over there and they told me how things were gonna work, and that's the most scariest thing, that, oh, you gotta be here 3 days, they started filling my head with all these things that I needed to do. You need to get your room, because 3 days prior, we gotta clean you up, get you prepped, excuse me, and we're gonna get you ready, because we need to get you in and out. So that in and out didn't work. I had to stay there for 7 days, 7 nights.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did that work with, obviously you had scheduled everything in terms of like a couple of days for
Yes,
surgery?
because that's what he had told me, and I think it didn't work that way. So I had to call work, and this didn't come up right. Okay, well, you're gonna have to use your vacations. Luckily for me, man, I always wait till the end of the year to have my vacations, and I had 2 more weeks, so I had to use them, and Lord behold, I mean, I made it, you know. I have a friend that was my driver. He had the same thing, bro.
Really?
Yes, but he was positive. He got colon cancer.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? He ran over his vacations, his everything. He had to sign for a FMLA.
I'm not familiar.
Family leave.
Oh, like family medical leave.
Yeah. And he wasn't getting paid.
Wow.
I was fortunate enough that I got paid all throughout my sickness, and when I needed to, since I use the phone and I have people running around and doing sales as far as the work is concerned, I needed them to let me work, and I had to take a physical in order for me.
Oh, to get back to work. Wow.
Well, the lady made a mistake. She's not, just so you know, she's not working there no more. She gave me a DOT physical. She sent me to go have a DOT physical.
A DOT physical?
I have a CDL license.
Oh, yeah.
And DOT is they make you get on the ground and get up like a truck driver.
Oh, okay.
And the kids that were there, beautiful kids, I like them. He goes, I think she made a mistake, and we can't do that to you because you have a big old.
Oh, they're the ones who told you.
Yeah,
oh,
and if you kneel down, you're gonna burst here. We're not gonna do that to you. So we're gonna go ahead and do what you need to do, and we're gonna pass you. They passed me, and I started working by just answering the phones and stuff. But I was getting paid.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have passed that, I would have. Hey man, sorry, you can come back to work, and no more, no pay. You know, even though I have money saved, but that's not the same. It's my money.
Yeah, exactly. That's your slush fund, right? Your rainy day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they say, it's important for people to have a couple of months of money to cover expenses in case of something like that, you know? So you never, and the pandemic was a good kind of example for that, because obviously a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of businesses shut down, and it's the same with the business. So they say, a household should have like 3 to 6 months of, of like kind of money to pay bills or whatever. Businesses should have a year, up to a year of funds available to pay their employees, to keep their business going in case something like the pandemic happens. But like, it was one of those things where, obviously people survive on the margins, a lot of us, so saving money is hard sometimes, and then,
I get
things come up and you gotta pay unexpected expenses, and like you said, thankfully you had good insurance, which probably covered a lot of it. So. And
the gentleman that I speak of, that works with the driver, he's no longer, he retired. He was working check by check, and he had to go for services to see who would help him. So God is, helped him through all that. He was diagnosed. He was clean. They cut everything out as well.
Wow.
And he's just living a good life. He's fishing. He's retired now. He's getting his checks and stuff. So I'm so happy that everything worked out for him.
All right, and we're going to take a quick music break again, and we'll be right back with Tony, so stay tuned, everyone. Thanks. Back. So, Tony, we got about 15 minutes left. We're going to take one more music break, but before that music break, I wanted to, have you talk a little bit about the journey in recovering from your surgery. Obviously, it was a big a big change from what you were supposed to get in terms of those little, basically being drilled into the small incisions versus a large incision where they have to cut you open and take care of you. So what was that like? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but after you got home, yeah.
I had to, when I got home, I had to sleep sitting down for 2 months.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Like not even lazy boy
No,
recline?
because it was hard to get up.
Yeah,
They got me a
because-
cane and everything. I had to slide sitting. And you know what? It's thank you for reminding me, but it would hurt my butt bone because
your tailbone,
I
yeah.
would be sitting down for 8 to,
Wow.
and then I would be in pain. Once I would go to the restroom, I make sure I didn't drink that much liquid
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I still had to get up.
Yeah,
And I was
of course.
wearing this machine that was covering my incision, my humongous incision, so it was basting it and closing it at the same time. It was an electrical machine that was battery operated. And it was this humongous battery, and they told me that I couldn't take a shower until that battery would run out.
So you just have to like
Sponge
yourself.
and brush my teeth, and I think it took about 2 weeks before that battery ran out, before I can take that battery with the whole dressing.
Damn.
Yes, it was something horrific, it was horrific to see all that stuff and that junk,
Yeah.
And I called the doctor, and he specifically told me, hey, well, that means that you're ready to take a shower. And a sponge shower, warm, and he gave me a soap that I needed to use specifically for my wound. And it had no chemicals. It was just a soap that was just made for the cut.
Wow.
So he would tell me to put a Silla wrap, one of them, a Bisqueen wraps. They're like a saran wrap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
So, but this one is like for surgery.
Oh, okay.
So once it would touch my skin, it would stay on.
Yeah.
So I would bathe and with the other regular soap, and then that would be my last part. So I would take it off, and then I use
with
that soap.
special soap. Wow.
Yeah. So that was one of my road to recoveries, and this is the disturbing part of sitting down, bro. That bone in my butt, man, and then I would use a cane to go sit in the living room, and I had to be jumping from sofa to sofa because that bone wasn't.
That's the worst. I've actually, whenever, sorry to interrupt, but just real quick, whenever I served in the military, and when I was in basic training, when I got out of basic training, my tailbone hurt really bad. It hurt so bad to sit down. I don't know, maybe I bruised it or something. But right after basic training, I went to airborne school, and in airborne school, you're getting your body beat up because you're getting jerked around in harnesses, practicing to jump out of planes. And so airborne school is 3 weeks, ground week, tower week, and jump week. The third week you jump out of the planes. And the week you jump out of the planes, you're waiting with all your gear and a giant hangar for your turn to get on the plane and jump. And their benches were wooden, just hard wooden benches. And that was like the worst pain. My butt hurt so bad just from being in basic training and then having to go sit for hours on end waiting for my turn to jump. And so whenever you talk about that pain, it gives me like PTSD thinking about that pain. Like, it was a terrible pain.
And my wife would give me a pillow so I could sit, and it would never help. It didn't help. And mind you that I had this slit over my stomach, and I couldn't lounge to the left nor to the right because I would immediately start that pain again. And it was just torturing a couple of months before. He told me things are going to get worse before it gets better. Because I was finding myself how to, where I could be. Until one day, I was going into my 3rd month of recovery, and I just decided to lean onto the left side, and I fell asleep. Oh my God! It took me like 3 hours. I woke up. And I couldn't move because my muscle had already
like locked up.
Yeah, and I lost a lot of muscle mass on my legs. I was done. I was thrown 7 days in the bed, in the hospital, and my legs got real skinny. It's just horrible because you can't do nothing. You're just there eating soup and. You can't do nothing. You're defenseless. And then And
it's such a transition from being a big, strong,
man. I felt weakling. I feel like a weakling. And then every morning, those 7 days that I was in the hospital, before, in order for them to let me out, and I had to follow whatever they tell me, or else I was gonna stay there longer.
Wow.
And every morning at 5 a.m, I had to get up and go for a walk. They would take me.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Like just
Just-
still fresh out of surgery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a must.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, because then if you're gonna just
Yeah.
like lock up
And
in
I
bed.
already have everything, and and they would
Wow.
take me, and it was a long walk. That hospital is so humongous. the walk around, I think I was on the 4th floor.
Okay.
Oh my! I thought, and they had a wheelchair behind me just in case if I would faint, because I couldn't even catch my breath because it was the pain. It was
Yeah,
horrific,
of course.
and I would sweat and. No, Mr. Lopez, come on, let's go. And the young ladies that were taking care of me, they had all the time in the world, man. And I'm
That's
home here, and we got one more room to go. And oh my God, man, that's a long. So shortly, literally, I got used to it every morning until the last day. He told me, you don't have to go for a walk today. And I go, oh, thank you. They never let you sleep late. They need you up all the time, and then checking your vitals all the time.
Oh yeah.
It was a torture, man.
So you get the surgery, you go home, you're laying in, you're sleeping upright or sleeping and
Yes.
sitting down
Yes.
for 2 months. And were you just in recovery for those 2
Yes.
months, or were you going to work? Or
No, nothing. I would just go
Just
from
recovery.
the bed to the sofa.
Wow.
And after I had already, mind you that after I had already taken that physical test, as I would do, I would just go take my phone and go to oh man, I saw the most. I wouldn't want to be at home watching TV. It's just horrible. I couldn't get my mindset. It was horrific. And then everybody would leave me. My wife had to go to work. My son had to go to work. And they would tell me every morning, hey, I got you this. This is ready to do. You just,
Okay.
be safe. Don't, call me or check
Yeah.
out the camera to see if anything, we'll see if you fall down and stuff. But I was very alert. So, but the pain was horrible, man.
Yeah.
So, I was at home all these times, 2 months, and I took it upon myself. They told me I couldn't drive until about 4 months, and I wasn't happy.
2 months later.
Yeah, man. I wanted to see. It was painful. It
Oh,
was
sure.
horrific. It is worse than, I don't know, I've never been pregnant, but a woman is pregnant, bro. I mean, like I was driving and I would hit a bump.
Oh, yeah.
And it was horrific. And
actually, that's it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's what spurred my shoulder surgery. Was because I had the injury for 7 years. I had a torn labrum in my right shoulder, and eventually the pain got so bad where the pain would go and come, and so it's like, oh, it sucks. It hurts pretty bad. But it got to the point where I would have to sit. The pain was so bad, I would have to sit down and breathe through it. We're like, oh my gosh, this hurts bad, and I just have to breathe, and I would feel like I was a pregnant lady, like pregnant ladies are practicing while they're doing their breathing exercises. Like, man, this is terrible. So yeah.
Yeah. So those were the days, the worst days I would remember. I also had to wear a vest, so my internals could be pressured,
Oh,
so
okay.
it wouldn't be all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to tighten them up but it would be painful.
Mm-hmm.
As the struggling in the road, I would have to put more pressure on it in order for me to go to those roads,
yeah.
And it's just I hated to go work, man, but I needed to work, get my mind off of what I was going through.
Yeah, of course. That's always the worst part about it too. Is obviously, like I mentioned earlier, being strong and fit to go in and be in that helpless state. And then on the other side of that as well is like, not only are you fit and strong, you're active, you're driving, you're working, you're, like you said, running, you're just doing a lot. And then to go to having to sit down for 2 months.
And then shake while you're sitting. I mean, like you're trying to grab the sofa so you can sit down and you start shaking because you don't have the strength to. That is horrible, with one hand, I could just sit down, and now I'm shaking to sit down with 2 hands,
All right, so we're going to take another quick music break, and we'll be right back, everyone, so stay tuned.
Thought I was a bear, 10 bears. I never thought anything could hurt me because I was built that way. I played sports all my life, and I lift weights, and I did this, I did that. I didn't think nothing could hurt me until, not eating right, drinking too much. I emphasize on drinking. Drinking is once a week kind of thing for a lot of people. It should be. Let me just say, it should be. I was doing that weekend thing, and then I started being a little successful in what I do for a living, and I started seeing more, more reasons to reward myself, and I started rewarding myself by hanging out in nice bars and grills, hanging out with good company, good peoples, and I didn't realize that I was drinking too much, and that's one of the factors that the doctor said that why I got this.
It probably contributed.
Yeah, majorly.
Mm-hmm.
He said he emphasizes that it was a major factor. So
Wow.
I just want people to understand that alcohol. I mean, beer. I drank more beer than anything, but that I drank it for since I was 16 years old. Moderately with my dad, because my dad would only give me one beer, and that was
Yeah.
it. But as I started hanging out with my friends in high school, things started progressing.
Yeah, it evolves real quick, and that's an important thing. Is of course it's okay. What I tell people is if you're stressing out, that stress is probably going to do more damage to you than having a glass of wine or a pint of beer. But of course, you got to always keep it in moderation, right? You don't want to drink 3 beers or 5 beers in an hour, kind of thing, or take 10 shots in 10 minutes or something like that. So, the stress is bad for you, but it is important to also understand, like, hey, like with anything, right? It's about moderation and trying to keep it reined in. And then, of course, the ethanol starts flowing and people start feeling good, and then they go down faster. And so that's why, it's important to just keep that in mind.
Let me elaborate real quick before we leave. I started, you would drink maybe 12 beers before my surgery at a bar and grill and probably snack on something. Now, when I hang out with my friends or go stop for a beer, I drink 3 to 4 Michelob Ultras, and that's it. I'm already done,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between then and now.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep it moderate, and remember the diet and eat a sensible meal. Now as I take all these medications, I can only eat a very sensible meal in the afternoon. Not everything's before 6, not after 6.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're pretty much done here with our hour, Tony, and I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It's important to get these stories from the community out there, so that way, the listeners can, take the advice, hopefully, in terms of going and getting the, like I said in my disclaimer, go see your medical professional.
Regular checkups. Yeah.
Very important. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is DJ Caliche Kid. Just here to remind you to stay healthy, stay curious, and let's thrive together. RGV.